nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive.
Good evening and welcome to United Soccer FC. My name is Harry. This is the exciting part for me. We're going to go over my predictions for USL Championship, but it's a preseason prediction. We'll come to the power rankings probably starting next week or maybe 2 weeks to get an idea of how teams are actually looking. So this is my views on what will happen in the upcoming year for USL Championship. So I'm sure a lot of these will be wrong, but let's get started. So looking out at the East, unfortunately, I've got the Red Bulls. You're probably going to see a trend here that I don't think that the MLS 2 teams in their last year are going to be very good. I'll just leave it at that. I know Red Bulls lost Jake Lavaca. It is probably their big one that they lost here, who they sent for to the Rowdies for it here. Next up, number 13th, Atlanta United 2. Solid squad. I kept thinking that they were going to make a turn for the better, but so far they haven't. For that here, Atlanta in the MLS was down last year, so they may be trying to pull a little bit of the talent up. I think for the 2 teams this year, we're going to see a little bit more of kind of like what the Real Monarchs did last year, where it's preparing for the move to MLS Next Pro, which these 4 teams will be. The next one on the list is going to be Loudoun. I just, like I said here, Loudoun is probably the most potential for the 2 teams to make a move up for that here. I know they've brought in, Trey Muse, and his dad, as goalkeeper and dad is the cheerleader for that here. So, like I said, I don't think Loudoun United will get the wooden spoon, which would be an improvement on last year for that here. So let's get to the real rankings. So the bottom 3, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs for it. I just think that the top of the East, like the West, is just going to be too strong. Hartford Athletic, as much as I hate to say it, I haven't been impressed with who they've brought in. They lost Jeff Caldwell, who's now in Colorado Springs. They're kind of an unproven team, but Hartford's one of those sneaky teams. When you look at them at the beginning of the year, you don't think that they're going to be as good as they end up being. And I've thought that for the last couple of years. But we'll see here. I think with the fewer MLS 2 teams for here, and especially that's going to be a big thing out west. I just don't see how they're going to be able to maintain that same standard. Moving to number 10, Memphis 901. Excuse me. They lost a lot of talent. Yeah, they lost Kyle Murphy, Breck Evans, Mark Sherburgs, and I think there was one more that went. Now they did bring in some talent as well, from that to try to replace. But losing a all league player like Kyle Murphy is going to be tough. There's no way to sugarcoat that. I just for me, I just not a big believer that they're going to be able to pull that out here. Moving on up, so I think the next 9 teams, or here, let me kind of reclassify it. I think from 6 to 11, in the East, you're going to have kind of a scrum for that here. I think the top 5 are clear locks for the playoffs, barring injuries and something unforeseen for that here. But I do think from 6 to 11, you're probably looking at, hey, they have a realistic shot. It's not like Loudoun United, Atlanta, and the MLS 2 teams where if they get in, it's going to be a major surprise. You got to remember that there's only 7 teams that make the playoffs, so half of the East will make it, and 13 teams out west, a little bit over half will make it. So there's going to be some good teams that are going to be left out. Number 9, Charleston Battery. I think they're gonna be knocking on the door, and barring some last minute adjustments coming in for that. I do think they have probably the best uniforms. However, Augustine Williams comes in, Preston Kilwine comes in, from the River Hounds. I just, for me, I don't think that they've got enough to make it up for that here. Number 8, Detroit City. I'm pretty high on Detroit City, but I think they're just going to miss the playoffs. I think Detroit City, even though they were in NISA last year, were very close to a championship, USL championship quality team. I think they would have pushed for the playoffs, and they've improved some. Antonio Hapano, Billy Forbes, Declan Wynn, Diapa, who was formerly with Detroit City. I'll go back for that here. But, under Trevor James, they've got quality. And I know we kind of joke around that, hey, it's the NISA All-Star team. There's some quality in NISA. Now, the depth isn't there, which is what the issue is. And that's why I probably, going to keep them down, out of the playoffs at this time. Because I think starting out, it's going to be a slow start for Detroit City, along those lines. I've got Indy 11 making the playoffs at 7. I think they could surprise. I think that they're one of the few teams that I could see that can move into the top 4. I think their biggest addition is the coach, Mark Lowry. I think he was a key point with El Paso, and I think that's going to hurt El Paso quite a bit. And they brought in Michek Jerome, who came over from, from El Paso. Noah Powder also came over from, Real Monarchs. Indy 11 was a huge disappointment last year. I think they were probably probably the most disappointing team. They had talent, but just couldn't figure it out. But I do think that they squeaked back into the playoffs for that, just because of Mark Lowry on there here for that here. I got Tulsa. I'm probably a little bit higher on Tulsa than most people, and it might just be because I'm drinking the Tulsa Kool-Aid for that here. But I really do like, like the makeup of Tulsa. They brought in, the big trade. Brian Brown came in. We got to see if he can actually, do something, for Jerome Kiesenweather, who didn't really have any impact. Now, Brian Brown didn't have any impact for New Mexico United. So the question is it a performance issue with both of them, or maybe it was a system? I also like that they brought in J.J. Williams from the Legion, for that here. And they brought in Adrian Dispay from RGV. So I think that they've strengthened up their defense a little bit. The offense, we're still going to start to see, and they've been quality in the midfield. So Tulsa is going to be my 6. I think if I had to choose of a team that drops out, it won't be Indy 11. It'll be Tulsa for that here. So 6 through 11. So Tulsa, Indy, Detroit, Charleston, Memphis, and Hartford are, to me, going to be fighting for these last 2 spots. And I think it's going to be a close race. It's going to come down to who can get, number one, who can not mess up against the bottom 3, and who can get the most points out of the top. And then I think when we kind of look at that cross-divisional cross-conference, that's going to be a key as well. Number 5, I got the Miami FC. They brought in, as we discussed earlier, Kyle Murphy from Memphis. I think they've shorn up the attack. They've brought in Adrian Stanley, who was with Austin FC. Spent some time also, I think, with St. Louis FC, back with them. Also brought in Mark Sugarbers, who was a all-league selection with Memphis last year. They did lose some talent, probably Francois, who's with El Paso, is probably the big one that they lost. They've also got new ownerships, or not new ownership, but new coaching with Anthony Poulos. So I think Miami, just with the talent that they brought in, I think they're going to have the quality. If there's a team out of the top 5 that drops out, it's going to be the Miami FC, because I think the top 4 are locked in now. Whether they all get home field, that's going to be a separate discussion. Number 4, the River Hounds. What can you say about Coach Lilly? Hall of Famer, one of the best coaches around. Why he hasn't got other opportunities through there? I know a lot of people are high on Dane Kelly coming in, which I know he feels a need. And he scores goals, but at some point it's got to start to slow down. Now, will he get, it's his 12th season, for that here. I'll be interested to kind of see how the offensive goes, but with Coach Lilly's team, but they're always very, very tough, very, very defensive, for that here. Birmingham Legion, I have 3rd. They're actually my sleeper pick on winning the entire East. Obviously Louisville and Tampa are still to be left. I wouldn't be shocked if Birmingham ends up over Louisville and challenging for the Eastern title. I know they lost Nico Brett. I know they transferred Junior Flemings, who got transferred over, to a league in France. They lost J.J. Williams, but they brought in Enzo Martinez, who, like with Pittsburgh, a little bit long in the tooth. But I think for that here, they brought in Horvat, Diop, and then Matt Corcoran, who is a Dallas Academy product, which, if you pay attention to the FC Dallas Academy, they put out quality kids. So, like I said here, I just think if there's going to be a year for the Legion, they're going to be moving into a new stadium. Hoping Birmingham turns out, and I hope they provide a home field advantage here. And by turning out, I'm hoping, maybe start out at 10,000 and kind of build up to that 15 to 20,000, kind of like what FCC did. Because they're going to have an opportunity to be able to hopefully capitalize on, hey, bringing in students in from UAB to really bring in the local community along those lines here. So Birmingham Legion, like I said here, watch out for. Louisville City, I have as next number 2. What can you say about Louisville City? Their class, the depth is quality. They bring in a quality goalkeeper in Kyle Morton. They brought in, Amadou Dia, formerly of Phoenix, in there. But they got some holes. Jonathan Gomez leaves. From what I've heard, that there might be some injuries that they're already starting to work out with, which might knock them down a peg or two. But Louisville's one of those teams that you just got to go with quality, for that here. So as far as for regular season, I do think that between them and Birmingham, it's like I said, it's going to be a battle to see which two of those really kind of challenge Tampa Bay that steps up. And of course, number one, the Eastern Conference champion, Tampa Bay Rowdies. They reloaded. But the question is, can they replace Forrest Lasso? Can they replace Evan Lauro, who is out with an injury? They brought in some quality players, for that here. Tampa Bay's been around, like Louisville. You got to give them the respect for that here. So for the East, I like I said, 99% positive that Tampa Bay, Louisville, Birmingham, and Pittsburgh are all going to make the playoffs. Now, will they be in the top four? We'll see. But I think I'm about 60% sure on the Miami FC. Tulsa probably about 40%. Indy probably about 40% as far as doing it where that does open it up. Or actually, I'm probably a little bit higher on Indy. With Lowry and Indy was better than what their record was last year. They just didn't get it done. So moving out west, no surprise, Las Vegas Lights. I think that's pretty much a universal pick. They're my pick for the wooden spoon. Obviously, with the affiliation with LAFC along those lines here, and then possibly upcoming MLS expansion. It's hard to see them making much improvements. Well, I guess here, LAFC, Los Angeles Galaxy 2 is going to be the next one here. I forgot to update the slides on the West. So LA Galaxy here, I have them, I think they have potential. They're the only two. Well, Las Vegas is technically a 2-team, but not a 2-team. For just on how it is, it's kind of very similar to what Reno was, but basically a 2-team there. Monterey Bay, they're a new expansion team. I know they got Gleedle. They've got some talent that's came in, but I just don't think that they have the depth for her. Because I think looking at the West here, I think basically you go from 4 to 9. I just 4 to 8 are just monsters. Oakland Roots, they're fringe on that here, along those lines here. RGV, they had a great run last year. They've completely retooled the lineup, and you got to wonder why. It's I know, listening to Down in the Valley and Edson, that, Coach Wilmer Cabrera said, hey, last year's lineup didn't fit the team, but yet they were a playoff team. And for a lot of the years, they were number one in the Mountain. I think it's going to be a setback. I'm not saying that they're going to be the worst team, but I do think they're not going to be as good as last year. Oakland Roots is kind of a mystery. They're kind of that team that that you look at them on paper and you're like, I don't see it, but it always seems like that they do get some results here. When they were in NISA, they did the same thing where they weren't flashy, but they were steady. Last year they got off to a slow start, figured it out. We'll see if they can kind of build on that. Here's where it gets interesting. I have OC, the defending champions, missing the playoffs at 8th. And I've talked with Andy and a huge Orange County supporter. I just think they got on that run in the playoffs. They caught some luck against Oakland in PKs. They beat San Antonio in PKs. And you could argue that Orange County was the better team against San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals. San Antonio had its chances, didn't convert, and then Orange County took it to them in the PKs. And then obviously they showed Tampa what the Western Conference is about for that here. So they are a team depending on how their playing style comes out. If they come out very defensively like they did last year, I don't think they're going to get enough wins. I don't see them losing a lot, but I don't see them winning as many games as they need to. I see them getting a lot of draws, which in the West could be a killer. El Paso, I've got El Paso down. If there's a team that misses the playoffs, there's two teams that I think that could miss the playoffs, and that's San Antonio and El Paso. I think with El Paso, they're changing the system, going to a more pressing style. Listening to Seriously Local, they've lost some talent. They lost the best coach in USL, and that outside of Bob Lilly, I guess you should preface that. I think Coach Lowry is a hell of a coach. He got a lot out of El Paso, especially the first couple of years where many people didn't think that they were a quality team, and they have. So I do think that for El Paso, Orange County, San Antonio, it's going to be and I'll even throw New Mexico in this mix here. Those games are going to be tight. Those games are going to be physical. Those games are going to be must watch. San Antonio, that's the team I support. I have them 6th. I didn't go all homer on them. It'll be interesting to see how this team gels. A new back line. Only Mitchell Tainer's back. There's rumors of Kamari coming back, but as of yet, that's not official for it here. They did bring in Fabian Garcia from the Austin Bold, RMP Austin Bold for that here. And to me, the reason why I like Fabian Garcia is his set pieces. He's a hell of a center back, but set pieces is there. Mitchell Tainer, he came in via transfer, but he was one that was with us. Big thing, is San Antonio lost its attack, basically. Jose Gallegos transferred over to, Danish Superliga. Nathan, returned back to his team in Brazil on the loan. He led the team with 13 goals. Epps is in Phoenix, which is why I have Phoenix, as the top, top team here. Those 3 were a huge part of the offense. Now they've been replaced. Patino comes back, which I think he's going to get it. I think that they definitely have a lot of quality that's going to come out on here. And then also probably the biggest story that's not getting reported is most likely a change in goalkeeper. I know Matt Cardoni's still with the team, which I think is kind of a surprise. But Jordan Farr, who came in from Indy 11, as an emergency goalkeeper, they signed him. But they also brought in a Columbia goalkeeper who was the starter for the Columbia Olympic team. I forget what year it was, but he started for them. They got out of the group stage into the knockout stage of the Olympics. So the advantage that we've heard is that he's one that can play with his foot and be able to get this distribution out a lot quicker, which for San Antonio, one thing that they've done is the fullbacks are going to be quicker. They brought speed in, for that here on the side with Minea and Beckford, who came in from Colorado Springs. So this is it. And I know it's my team, but I think San Antonio is going to be a fun team to watch, just on how they play. The question is can they finish? Moving to number 5, I have New Mexico United. Like I said here, I think they're due to kind of go on a run and kind of fill that El Paso role as kind of that team in the Southwest that's going to be there. I think their offense is going to look a lot better. The defense is obviously, playing, in New Mexico is going to be tough because you're going to have the crowds back, along those lines. Their kits look pretty solid. New Mexico, you always got to wonder, hey, are they going to, going to be able to finish it, for that here, because they've had some good runs, but they've always seemed to have faded. So, but like I said here, 4, San Diego Loyal. Now, I put this out. I created this before they signed. What was his name? Andrew. What's his name? Andrew Carlton. I wonder if that's going to mess with the locker room. I do, and I'm all for giving people second chances, but that's a big change for San Diego. And I know they've came out with you knew the signing was questionable when as soon as the signing's released, the supporters group sends out a prepared statement. And they release a podcast saying, hey, this is the reason why we did it. If you're having to do that for one of your signings, that says a lot. Now, I do think the Loyal, however, have a lot of talent. For that here, Nick Moon, for that here, Evan Conway is a huge get for that here. But Andrew Carlton, how does he affect the locker room? That's going to be the question, and that raises some flags for me for that here. Number 3, maybe I'm listening to USL Tactics John a little bit too much. He's very high on Sacramento. I think that they've brought in some great pieces. They've definitely rebuilt, and you can tell this is kind of a push to get back, because last year was a disaster for Sacramento. There's no discussion. Bringing back Rodrigo Lopez, who was with RGV last year, and to me, a huge part of why RGV made the playoffs. They brought in Danny Vitello, from the River Hounds, as the goalkeeper. They brought in, one of the top League One defenders. Sacramento reloaded. Question is it enough, and can it rebuild enough? Colorado Springs, to me, they're kind of the new Phoenix. They got a new stadium. They've kind of rebranded. They offensively, and this is for regular season, offensively, they're going to score goals. I also think that playing up in Colorado can be there, but, they brought in Elvis Amo from RGV, Malik Johnson, a midfielder that they brought in. They did lose Beckford, but they still got Barry. They brought back Neglina, who they should have never loaned him out to LAFC last year. I think if he stays in there, their season probably goes a little bit different. I understand trying to do right for the player, and for that, like I said, kudos to them for that. But it impacted the switchbacks. I'll be interested to see if their back line, if their defense isn't leaking goals. If their defense isn't leaking goals, then I think they're going to be in a much better position. And I think Jeff Caldwell coming in from Hartford Athletic will definitely be an improvement over the goalkeepers that they had last year. Number 1, and this is for regular season, no surprise, Phoenix Rising. I think for Phoenix, when it comes to the regular season, they know how to win. The big thing for them is they've got to replace Solomon Asante, two-time MVP for that here. But they reloaded. I don't know what else that you can say. They brought in Greg Hurst, one of the one of the best League One forwards. They brought in Marcus Epps, who's been tearing it up, after he had a strong showing in San Antonio. They brought in Ben Lunt, the goalkeeper who was with Cincinnati. Why he didn't get a shot at Cincinnati is probably why they're still in the wooden spoon race there. But if you're going to replace Asante, as far as production on the field, I think Epps is equal to that. Now, I know Asante brought a leadership ability to Phoenix, so it'll be interesting to kind of see who picks that up for that here, along those lines here. But I think for the regular season, I think with Rising and switchbacks on how they play on their offensive and especially with Rising where they've got a good defense, they're going to they're going to be tough to beat for that here. So to me, like I said here, this is how I see it. Probably in a couple of weeks here, probably after week 2, I'll come back with the actual power rankings. It's hard to do on week 1 just for the fact that right now, really, these rankings are blind. Nobody's really seen the teams. What you've seen is probably very vanilla, along those lines here. So looking forward to, I forgot to advance it to Rising to give their logo there. Would love any feedback that you got for it here. And like I said here, we'll definitely have a discussion here in a little bit here. Probably coming up later, either this evening or tomorrow, I'm going to do my week 1 predictions for USL Championship for week 1. But thank you for tuning in and hope everybody has a great day.